Hey there, fellow classic comic collectors. As always, I'm Scott Harris King, and today I'm here to talk about Ant-Man Quantumania. Yes, just got back from the theater from seeing Ant-Man Quantumania. I have a lot of thoughts about it. They were giving out these free posters, and the people at Marvel are very, very savvy because the backside is the Guardians of the Galaxy poster, so I'm sure they'll be giving this out to people who go to see Guardians of the Galaxy at the beginning of May. So they only had to print one print, just double sided. But anyway, got this free Quantumania print. I may or may not put it up. We'll talk about that right now because I'll just say up front, as you know, I've done a lot of movie and TV reviews at this point, quite a few, and I do tend to overrate things right at the beginning. I really enjoy watching movies in particular, particularly the experience at the theater. So I very much get very invested and into the experience of watching the movie. So I tend to come out and be like, that was a great experience. And then later on, when I start thinking about it, I really start getting much more critical about the stories and stuff. So I have let this percolate a little bit. And the upshot is I enjoyed it, but I do have some issues with it as well. Let's just talk about the top most important thing, Kang the Conqueror. As you know, Kang's my favorite supervillain in comics. I love Kang. I'm a big Avengers fan, and for me, Kang is the best. So the fact that there's going to be two whole phases of Marvel movies about Kang leading up to Kang fighting the Avengers in the fifth and sixth Avengers movies is, particularly the fifth one, Kang Dynasty, super exciting for me. Very excited. We did see a little bit of Jonathan Majors as He Who Remains, one of the variants of Kang at the end of Loki last year. But this is the first time we see Kang the Conqueror himself. And he was awesome. I gotta say, Jonathan Majors, fantastic actor, really killed it. Particularly because we don't get much of Kang's real backstory here. There's a lot of Kang, and there's a lot of like buildup about how frightening and powerful and just like what a huge villainous menace he is. But we do get a couple character scenes with him, but we really get almost nothing about his backstory. But Jonathan Majors just he imbues the character with a lot of emotion and pathos, and like you could just feel it, right? Just absolutely great performance from him, and it made me really excited to see a lot more of Kang the Conqueror. Uh, there were some other things that were good about the movie as well. Like it was fun. So I like Paul Rudd. The humor was fun. If you've seen the first two Ant-Man movies, they have the same director for the third one, and there was a lot of humor. It was a really fun movie. So, overall, I really enjoyed it. I had a good time watching the movie. Here's where I have the issues with the film, right? So, the main thing is that the entire point of the movie is to introduce Kang. That's what the movie is really about. You get the sense, or I got the sense, and my wife as well, that the nothing else in it really mattered. Like they could have been any character's movie who Kang was in. Kang was such a dominant force. Anytime he was on screen, it was awesome. Anytime he was not on screen, it was fine. It was fun, but nothing else actually in the story seemed to matter at all. There was almost no character arcs for the other character. There were some nods to arcs, like they had paid some lip service to the idea that Scott Lang is sort of resting on his laurels, and he saved the world, but now he's sort of checked out and he's in dad mode. He's just trying to protect his daughter, and so he's not really getting involved in things anymore. And so there was some lip service paid to the idea that he needs to sort of get re-engaged, and like through the course of this he's getting re-engaged, but that didn't really land. It really felt quite a bit like the only reason he gets involved with anything is because his daughter's in danger. Didn't really feel like there was really any character arc with him. His daughter, Cassie, was just okay, um, not great. My wife really didn't like some of the stuff that they did with Cassie. Um, they did some really interesting stuff with Hank and Janet. They actually have some really cool stuff. Janet, in particular, you get, she has this very mysterious past, and they get to do a bunch of really cool things. And Hank Pym in this movie is really fun. Like he's kind of goofy in a fun way. Like he's just sort of embracing the fact that he's the dorky guy that likes the ants. And so there's a lot of fun there, but again, none of it really meant anything. Uh, this story is taking place in this miniature pocket universe with a bunch of characters that we've never seen before, and so they get involved in this like big war that's going on there, that doesn't really have anything to do with them and doesn't affect anything. And so it's kind of like completely disconnected from anything. The stakes were huge for these characters that we don't know about and don't care about, but they were very minor for our characters. They were just like, they get stuck there and they're trying to get home, and it just doesn't mean anything. So that was sort of a big problem for me, and it made the other bigger problem a bigger problem because they spent the whole movie basically just setting up how awesome Kang is. That's the whole point of the film. There's really no other purpose to the movie other than to be a showcase for Kang and set him up for all the further future movies. And then they really just sort of chickened out at the end. And they really undercut Kang and everything else, because at the end of the movie, after building up Kang as this incredible threat, basically his suit gets damaged, and so he doesn't have any of his powers, and he basically just gets in a fist fight with Ant-Man. And then Wasp shows up, and because Kang doesn't have any powers because the suit is broken, she just shoots him a bunch of times, and he gets sucked into this dimensional vortex and either dies or just vanishes. And so basically, after being built up as this conqueror who has destroyed entire timelines, whole universes, and killed countless Avengers and alternate realities and everything, he gets chumped by Ant-Man. And so it made him kind of look stupid. Or rather, it made us look stupid, right? As viewers, it made us look stupid for buying into how all the hype for Kang for all the movie leading up to that. And my understanding is, and this is just rumor, so I don't know if this is true or not, but what I heard was that this was not the original ending. Originally, Kang wasn't going to be defeated. He was going to escape. And at the end of the movie, like, it seems as though Ant-Man and Wasp, Hope, are stuck in the quantum realm, micro universe. But then all of a sudden, for reasons that make no sense in the story, our heroes back home are able to just open up another portal to bring them home. And so they're just like, oh, never mind, we just leave. And my understanding is originally they were going to be stuck down there. So there are going to be consequences, and they were going to save the microverse, but they weren't going to actually defeat Kang. Kang's whole thing in the movie is he's trying to get out so he can get his revenge on everybody, right? And so I think in the original thing, they were kind of going to fail, because while they save the microverse from Kang, they do it at the expense of Kang escaping to get back to the world. That's all undercut. He just gets sucked into this thing and apparently dies. And it just makes him look stupid. It makes us look stupid for believing all the hype with Kang in the movie. Just the whole tone of the ending was just off. And again, my understanding is they reshot that whole ending, and you can kind of tell everything about the ending once he starts fighting, having the fist fight with Ant-Man. From there, even until like sort of the epilogue afterwards, it was just weird. It just felt tonally off, and I think they really sort of lost their guts. I feel like this was a time where they should have done basically an Infinity War thing. I think for me, the move there was actually to have them lose, was to have Ant-Man basically die, sacrifice himself to keep Kang from getting back to our universe, whatever. So it's like a heroic sacrifice. but basically show what a badass Kang is, and give some sort of powerful character arc for Scott, because he does not have one in the movie. Again, it doesn't feel like there's any point to anything that happens with our characters. So I don't know. It felt like they kind of copped out in the ending, to the detriment of everybody. Like, to the detriment of, even with the character arc that they had set up but didn't follow through with on Scott, about how he needed to get more involved and try and help people. If he had actually died trying to help these people, maybe there's a place where he has a choice to just save his daughter and get back, but he decides he's going to stay and help after he saved her, like that sort of thing. He kind of does that in the movie. Like, the daughter gets through the portal, the other people get through the portal, and so Scott stays back to fight Kang himself to try and keep him from going through the portal and escaping. But it just doesn't land, right? Because they have this cop out feel good, like, oh, actually it's fine. The fact that the portal closed doesn't mean anything. We can just open a new one. And oh, Kang's actually, he's just a chump, So it's not a big deal. If they had made those things a big deal, I think it would have been a very satisfying end to Scott's storyline, to have him be the big hero again, and keep Kang as the big threat. I don't know. I was just very disappointed with the ending. There's also there's a mid-credit scene, a post-credit scene. The post-credit scene was setting up Loki season 2. So it's got Victor Timely in it, who was, one of the other versions of Kang, or one of the other Kang's other identities. And that was fine, but that was basically just a commercial for Loki. Like, it didn't really... But the mid-credit scene, I also didn't like. It was a scene that I should have liked, because it's where we first see the Council of Kangs and all the other versions of Kang. We see Immortus, we see Rama Tut, and then we see a scene that's right out of Avengers 292. Like, they recreated, like, I recognize the exact panel, which is a full-page spread in Avengers 292 of the Council of Kangs. Here, I just dug it out. It's this scene here. Right, we have all the different Kangs, and you've got, like, the Lizard Kang. Like, they exactly recreated this panel. The problem with that is, without the context of reading the story, which we don't have yet in the movies, the whole point of the Council of Kangs is that they suck, right? So, like, in the original stories, the Council of Kangs was something that Kang had set up, because there were all these incompetent variants of him going around, making him look stupid, because they were messing up the time stream and doing dumb things. And there's an infinite number of Kangs, so an infinite number of them are gonna be stupid, and suck. And so what Kang was doing was, he was going around and eliminating the crappy versions of Kang. And then once he did that, then he was brought into this other bigger Council of Kangs, which were all the survivors of those other councils. So it's supposed to be the slightly better versions. But what you find out is, there's basically a bunch of clown Kangs. There's all these different Kangs from alternate realities, and they're all they're not as good as our Kang. Like, they're mediocre Kangs. And you get a little bit of that in this mid-credit scene, because the Council of Kangs has a hierarchy. They're being run by Immortus and Rama Tut, and there's a third Kang who I didn't recognize, who seemed like someone new, either completely new for the movies, or it's a new version of someone that they've redesigned to the point where I couldn't recognize them. But there was this trio of Kang variants that were definitely running the council. But all of the other Kang variants just came across like fools. They were just yelling and screaming and hooting and hollering and jumping up and down and, like, beating their chests and just acting like idiots. And again, without, like, as someone who's read the story, I get it, because that's kind of the point. And the Kang the Conqueror, the actual version here in Ant-Man, when he talks about the Council of Kangs, he's basically like, my variants are completely wrecking everything, and they've exiled me because I'm trying to stop them, right? And he's basically like, You think I'm a bad guy, but they're the real bad guys. I'm going to save the multiverse from all the even worse Kangs, which is the same thing that He Who Remains said in Loki. He said the exact same thing, that he wasn't the bad Kang. He was the best. He was the good Kang that was saving everybody, right? And so you get that, a little bit of that, but without the context of this, it just seems stupid. You watch that scene and you're like, wow, this is the guy that's going to be the bad guy for the next two arcs, because most of these versions seem stupid, right? And the one version that was super awesome, which is the Kang the Conqueror, who is the Ant-Man, the version throughout Ant-Man. Again, they gave him this stupid ending where he loses a fist fight to Ant-Man and then gets sucked into a machine and disappears. It just, they really undercut everything about the movie with the ending. So I enjoyed the movie and I loved this version of Kang. I loved Jonathan Majors' performance. But then right at the end, they just completely fumbled everything. And so I ended up being kind of disgruntled. It was not a satisfying experience, because all they needed to do, I think, was stick with the original ending, or just, again, get your guts back that you used to have in some of those earlier movies. It feels like Marvel's almost too successful themselves, and some of these recent projects, they haven't wanted to take the risks because they have the popular characters and they want to keep them around. It's kind of like in the original comics, where, at first Stan was taking all of these risks, but then once they became popular, everything got set in stone and became the illusion of change. I feel like that's happening in the movies now as well, where it's like, oh, well, thematically we really should do like X, Y, and Z with the characters, but we don't want to damage them because they're popular, so we're gonna just reset everything at the end of the movie to where it was. And I think it's a big mistake. I think the end of this movie was a big mistake. It just didn't end the way it should have. So ultimately I was very frustrated. I'm hoping that, again, we get some really cool versions of Kang. I'm not sure. I have the sense that we're not going to see him again until Loki. At the end, the very end, it said, there's a thing that said Kang will return. And we had the tease for Loki with Victor Timely. So I don't think we're going to be seeing Kang in Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't think we're going to be seeing a version of Kang again, probably until Loki. But I'm hoping that we get a lot of him, and that he's really, a super dangerous menace, that the way he should be, because he was so awesome in this movie right up until the end, and they just really let him down. They let us down, and they let down Jonathan Majors because he was so good. So I'm really excited to see Kang the Conqueror come back and kick some booty. I just wish that the end of this had been a little different. So overall, it was just a real mixed bag. It could have been something really awesome, but it wasn't. So you just go into it, if you haven't seen it. I'm assuming you have, or you wouldn't be watching the spoilers. Just expecting to get some good with the bad. So that's it. Let me know what you think down below if you've seen the movie, and I'll see you next time.